I was going to marry the woman of my dreams in just 2 months. After 3 years together, Amanda and I had it all figured out. I owned a successful construction company. We had a house I renovated myself, and we were surrounded by family who supported us. Or so I thought. Everything changed the day I came home early, to surprise her with concert tickets, only to find her in bed with my own father. The rage took over and I beat him until his blood stained my knuckles. I never imagined that when I went to console my mother, she would be the next one to drive a knife into my back. Before I dive into the most painful betrayal of my life, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever been blindsided by someone you trusted completely. Growing up in a small town outside of Boston, family meant everything to me. My father, Richard, was something of a local legend, building his plumbing business from scratch into a company that employed 20 people. My mother, Eleanor, supported him every step of the way, handling the books while raising me. From the outside, we were the perfect American family, complete with Sunday dinners and summer vacations to Cape Cod. I idolized my father growing up. He taught me how to throw a baseball, change a tire, and eventually how to run a business. When I started my own construction company at 23, he was my first investor and biggest cheerleader. Joaquin is going to outshine his old man, he would boast to his friends. I worked hard to make those words true, taking pride in earning his approval. We remained close into my adulthood. I called him for advice on contracts, joined him for fishing trips, and never missed a chance to have dinner with both my parents at least once a week. They were the foundation of my life, my safe harbor in any storm. I met Amanda 3 years ago at my cousin's wedding. She was a friend of the bride, a kindergarten teacher with an infectious laugh and a warmth that drew everyone to her. When she told stories about her classroom, her whole face lit up. I asked her to dance then for her number, and by the end of the night, I knew there was something special between us. Our relationship moved quickly. Within 6 months, she had practically moved into my apartment. By our 1-year anniversary, we were talking about marriage. My parents welcomed her immediately, especially my father. She is exactly what this family needs, he would say. A breath of fresh air. My mother and Amanda bonded over cooking and wedding magazines. They would spend entire Saturdays together, shopping or trying new recipes. I was thrilled that the woman I loved fit so perfectly into my family. When Amanda mentioned wanting to learn more about the business side of my company, my father even offered to mentor her since he had helped my mother with the financial aspects of his business for years. Last year, I decided it was time to put down real roots. I bought a fixer-upper just 10 minutes from my parents' house. For 6 months, I spent every spare moment renovating it, installing custom cabinets in the kitchen because Amanda loved to bake, building a window seat in the master bedroom where she could read, and creating a special office space where she could prepare her lesson plans. When it was finally ready, I blindfolded her and carried her over the threshold. Her tears of joy made every blister and late night worth it. I proposed 6 months ago on the beach, where we had our first date. She said yes before I could even finish asking. That night, we celebrated with my parents at their house. My father gave an emotional toast welcoming Amanda to the family, officially saying she was already like a daughter to them. My mother cried happy tears. It was perfect. Wedding planning took over our lives. Amanda and my mother were constantly together discussing flowers, venues, and catering. My father insisted on paying for the open bar, and the band saying nothing was too good for his son and future daughter-in-law. I was busy with a major project at work but made time for tuxedo fittings and meetings with the officiant. Looking back, there were signs I completely missed. Amanda started spending more time at my parents' house than seemed necessary for wedding planning. Sometimes I would call her in the evening and she would be there, her voice slightly breathless when she answered. "Your mom and I are going through the seating chart again," she would explain. I never questioned it. My father changed too. At 55, he suddenly joined a gym, bought new clothes, and started using cologne that was definitely not his usual brand. He mentioned business meetings that kept him out late, which was unusual for him. My mother seemed unbothered, saying she was glad he was finally taking better care of himself. The day everything fell apart started normally enough. I was overseeing a renovation at an office building downtown. We were ahead of schedule, and I decided to take the afternoon off to surprise Amanda. I had scored tickets to see her favorite band that weekend and wanted to surprise her. It was a Wednesday. She should have been home after school grading papers or preparing lessons for the next day. When I pulled into our driveway around 2:30 in the afternoon, I noticed my father's truck parked on the street. My first thought was that he was helping Amanda with some wedding surprise for me. They had been whispering about something at Sunday dinner, and I assumed it was related to the honeymoon or a gift. I entered our house quietly, planning to join their conversation. The living room and kitchen were empty, but I heard sounds from upstairs. Our bedroom door was closed. As I approached, the sounds became clearer, and my stomach dropped to my feet. The noises were unmistakable. Someone was having sex in our bedroom, in the bed I had shared with my fiancé for the past year. My mind refused to process what was happening. Maybe Amanda was watching something inappropriate on her laptop. Maybe she was. The excuses died in my head as I heard my father's voice saying her name in a way that made me physically ill. I stood frozen outside that door for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Then something snapped inside me. I threw the door open so hard, it left a dent in the wall. There they were in our bed, under the quilt Amanda's grandmother had made for us. As an engagement gift, my father, the man I had respected my entire life, was on top of my fiancé. They both looked up, their expressions changing from pleasure to horror in an instant. Amanda gasped, pulling the sheets up to cover herself. Oh my God. My father scrambled off her, reaching for his discarded pants on the floor. Son, I can explain. He started, his voice shaking. For a moment, the scene seemed surreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. Then the rage hit me like a physical force. I lunged at my father, grabbing him by the throat before he could pull his pants up. I slammed him against the wall, the wedding photos on our dresser crashing to the floor. You son of a bitch, I roared, punching him in the face. Blood exploded from his nose on the first hit. I did not stop. Every betrayal, every lie fueled my fists as I pummeled the man who had raised me, my fiancé. In my bed, my own father, Amanda, was screaming, trying to pull me off him. Joaquin, stop. You are going to kill him. It just happened. We did not mean for this. Her words only enraged me further. Just happened. How long has this been going on? My father was barely defending himself, his face becoming a bloody mess under my assault. I felt his ribs crack under my knuckles. Some rational part of my brain warned me to stop before I did permanent damage, but I was beyond reason. Finally, Amanda managed to wedge herself between us, her naked body pressed against me in a grotesque parody of intimacy. Please stop, she sobbed. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I shoved her away from me, disgusted by her touch. Get out, I said, my voice deadly quiet. Both of you get your things and get out of my house in the next 5 minutes, or I swear to God, I will finish what I started. My father was slumped against the wall, blood streaming from his nose and mouth. His eye was already swelling shut. Joaquin, please, he wheezed. Let me explain. Explain what I shouted, picking up his shirt and throwing it at him. How you have been sleeping with my fiancé. How long, Dad, was it happening when you gave that beautiful toast at our engagement party? When you offered to pay for part of our wedding, Amanda was frantically pulling on her clothes, tears streaming down her face. It was a mistake, she kept saying. We never meant to hurt you. I laughed, a horrible broken sound. Get out before I call the police, and take the ring with you. I gestured to her engagement ring, the one I had spent 3 months' salary on. You two deserve each other. They dressed in shameful silence. My father could barely stand, and Amanda had to help him down the stairs. The sight of them leaving together, her supporting his battered body, burned itself into my memory forever. When the front door closed behind them, I collapsed onto the floor of my bedroom, surrounded by the wreckage of my life. The bed where I had slept with the woman I loved was defiled. The pictures of our happy moments lay shattered on the floor. My father's blood stained the carpet and my knuckles. I do not know how long I sat there, but eventually, I called my best friend Marcus. We had known each other since kindergarten, and he was going to be my best man. They did what he shouted when I managed to tell him what happened. "I am coming over right now. Do not move." Marcus arrived 20 minutes later, letting himself in with the spare key he had. He took one look at me, at my bloodied hands and blank expression, and pulled me into a hug. "Jesus, Joaquin," he muttered. "What a nightmare." He cleaned up the blood, helped me strip the bed, and poured me a stiff drink. After my third whiskey, he said what I had been avoiding thinking about. "Your mom, Eleanor. Does she know?" The thought of my mother hit me like another blow. She would be devastated. She and my father had been married for 30 years. Their relationship had always seemed rock solid. How would she handle knowing her husband had betrayed her with her future daughter-in-law? "I need to tell her," I said, standing up unsteadily. "She should hear it from me, not them." Marcus nodded. "I will drive you," he said. "You are in no condition." The drive to my parents' house was silent. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would break it to her gently. My mother did not deserve this pain. She had always been the peacemaker in our family, the one who made everything better. Now I had to shatter her world, tell her that the man she loved had betrayed her in the worst way. As Marcus pulled into my parents' driveway, I saw my mother's car, but not my father's truck. At least she was home alone. I could tell her privately, help her through the initial shock before she had to face him. "Want me to come in?" Marcus asked. I shook my head. "This is something I need to do alone. Wait for me, though." He squeezed my shoulder. "I will be right here, man." I walked up to the door of my childhood home, my heart pounding. I did not even need to knock. My mother yanked the door open as I approached, her face streaked with tears, her expression a mask of fury I had never seen before. Before I could speak, my mother's hand cracked across my face with surprising force. I staggered back more from shock than pain. "How dare you?" she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. "How dare you attack your own father like that? What is wrong with you?" I stood frozen on the doorstep, unable to process what was happening. "Mom," I started, "I need to tell you something about Dad and Amanda." "I know exactly what happened." She cut me off, her eyes wild. "Your father called me from the emergency room. You broke his nose and 3 ribs in some kind of psychotic break." My mind reeled. Emergency room. And why was she angry at me? "Mom, they were having sex in my bed," I said, my voice breaking. "Dad and Amanda were cheating on us both." My mother's expression hardened. "That is a disgusting lie. Your father told me everything. How he went to your house to talk to you about reconsidering the money for the wedding given your recent business problems. How you flew into a rage when he suggested scaling back some of the expenses. Business problems. What are you talking about? The company is doing better than ever." I was completely lost. Then Amanda called hysterical. My mother continued, as if I had not spoken. She confirmed everything. "How you have been under enormous stress, becoming paranoid, even accusing them of conspiring behind your back. She is terrified of you, Joaquin." The depth of the deception left me speechless. They had not only betrayed me, but had constructed an elaborate lie to cover their tracks, painting me as unstable and violent. And my mother, the woman who had known me my entire life, believed them over me. "Mom," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady, "they are lying to you." I caught them together. In my bed. Having sex. There was no conversation about wedding money. Dad's blood is still on my floor. She crossed her arms. "Your father said you would say something like this, that you would make up horrible accusations to justify your violence." Her voice dropped to a venomous whisper. "You know, you have always been jealous of your father's success, always trying to prove you could do better than him. I never thought you would stoop this low." Each word cut deeper than the last. Not only did she not believe me, but she was also using my deepest insecurities against me. I had spent my life trying to make my parents proud, and now my mother was twisting that into something ugly. "You have known me for 28 years," I said, my voice hollow. "Have I ever given you any reason to think I would make up something like this? That I would attack Dad without cause? Look at me, Mom. Really look at me." For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, a shadow of doubt. But then she hardened again. "Your father would never do what you are suggesting. Never. Amanda is practically a daughter to us. Call the hospital," I suggested desperately. "Ask them about Dad's injuries. Ask why he was only wearing underwear when he arrived. Ask why he smelled like sex." "That is enough," she shouted. "I want you to leave, now. Until you are ready to apologize to your father and get the help you obviously need, you are not welcome in this house." The finality in her voice broke something inside me. My own mother had chosen to believe a convenient lie, rather than face an inconvenient truth. She had chosen my father despite evidence of his betrayal. "Fine," I said quietly. "But when you finally learn the truth, do not expect me to be waiting with open arms. This is on you too now." I turned and walked back to Marcus's car, my legs barely supporting me. He took one look at my face and knew. "She did not believe you," he said. It was not a question. "They got to her first," I replied, my voice hollow. "Spun some story about me having a breakdown over wedding finances. She believes them completely." Marcus cursed under his breath. "What now?" "Now I cut them all out of my life," I said, a strange calm settling over me. "Every single one of them." The next few weeks passed in a blur of practical matters. I canceled all wedding arrangements, returned what gifts had already arrived, and changed the locks on my house. I blocked my parents and Amanda's numbers, removed them from all social media, and instructed my employees not to give them information if they called the company. Marcus and a few other close friends formed a protective circle around me. They took turns staying at my house those first few nights, worried about my mental state. My sister Lucia, who lived in California, flew home when she heard what happened. Unlike my mother, she believed me instantly. "Dad always had wandering eyes," she said grimly. "Mom just never wanted to see it." I threw myself into work, taking on dangerous projects that required my complete focus just to stay safe. Climbing on roofs, operating heavy machinery, anything that would force my mind away from the betrayal. At night, I started seeing a therapist who specialized in trauma and betrayal. Dr. Winters helped me understand that my mother's reaction was partly self-protection. Sometimes believing a lie is easier than accepting a truth that would destroy your world, she explained. Through mutual friends, I learned that Amanda had moved in with her sister, and that my father was staying at a hotel after being released from the hospital. Apparently, their story about my breakdown was spreading through our social circle, with people taking sides. Most who truly knew me did not believe it for a second. 3 months of complete silence passed. I rebuilt my daily routines, sold the engagement ring, and even went on a few casual dates, though I was nowhere near ready for another relationship. I was starting to believe I could build a life without the family I had once cherished. Then came the text from my mother. "I need to see you. Please." I ignored it at first, deleting it without responding. Then came another. "I know the truth now. All of it. Please, Joaquin." When I showed the messages to Marcus, he sighed. "You know you will always wonder if you do not at least hear her out." After a week of similar messages, I finally agreed to meet her at a coffee shop in a neighboring town somewhere neutral, where we would not run into people we knew. Marcus drove me there and sat at a table nearby, my personal security detail. When my mother walked in, I barely recognized her. She had lost at least 20 pounds, her clothes hanging loosely on her frame. Her hair, always perfectly colored and styled, was showing gray roots and pulled back carelessly. The confident woman who had slapped me and thrown me out of her house was gone, replaced by someone who looked broken. My mother spotted me in the corner of the cafe and froze momentarily before approaching with hesitant steps. I did not stand to greet her or offer a hug. I simply watched as she slid into the chair across from me, her hands trembling as she placed her purse on the table. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I did not think you would. What do you want, Mom?" I kept my tone neutral, fighting against the conflicting emotions her appearance stirred in me. She looked down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring unconsciously. I noticed it was the only jewelry she wore. The usual bracelets and necklace my father had given her for anniversaries were conspicuously absent. "I know what really happened," she said, finally meeting my eyes. "Everything. And how did you come to this revelation?" I could not keep the bitterness from my voice. She took a shaky breath. "Amanda is pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. "And she is 4 months along." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "She announced it to Richard 2 weeks ago, expecting him to leave me for her. When he balked, she threatened to tell everyone the baby is his. They did a paternity test. It confirmed he is the father." I sat back, a strange sense of vindication washing over me, immediately followed by fresh waves of disgust and betrayal. "So he finally confessed." She nodded, a tear spilling down her cheek. "He admitted everything." "The affair started 6 months ago, when Amanda came to the house to discuss wedding plans. It continued right under our noses. All those times she was at our house helping with wedding details." Her voice broke. "And all those business meetings he was suddenly having," I added. My mother covered her face with her hands. "I was such a fool. Such a willfully blind fool." I watched her shoulders shake with silent sobs, feeling nothing but emptiness. The mother I needed 3 months ago, when my world was shattered, was nowhere to be found. Instead, she had chosen to believe the worst of me, her own son. "Why did you believe him over me?" I asked the question that had haunted me for months. "Did you really think I was capable of making up such a disgusting lie, of attacking him for no reason?" She lowered her hands, her expression raw with shame. I could not face the alternative, Joaquin. If what you were saying was true, it meant my entire life was a lie. My marriage, my husband, everything I thought I knew. She wiped at her tears. "It was easier to believe you were having some kind of breakdown than to accept that Richard would betray me that way, with her of all people." "I know," she whispered, "and I will regret those words until the day I die." We sat in heavy silence for several minutes. Marcus caught my eye from across the room, raising an eyebrow in question. I gave him a small nod to indicate I was okay. "What happens now?" I finally asked. "I filed for divorce last week," she replied. "I am selling the house. Too many memories." Richard moved in with Amanda, though from what I hear, their relationship is already strained. Apparently the reality of having a baby together is not as romantic as their affair. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of pity for Amanda's child, an innocent caught in this mess. "And you? Where will you go?" "My sister invited me to stay with her in Portland, while I figure things out." She hesitated. "Joaquin, I know I have no right to ask, but I cannot bear to lose you too. Is there any way we might rebuild something? Not like before, I know that is impossible, but something." The question hung between us, weighted with the debris of our shattered family. 3 months ago, I would have said no without hesitation. But seeing her now stripped of her defenses, finally facing the truth, I felt the first stirrings of something other than anger. "I do not know," I answered honestly. "I am still processing everything. Still healing." She nodded, accepting this non-answer. "I understand. Can I at least call you sometimes, just to check in?" I considered this modest request. "We can try that," I said carefully. "Small steps." Relief flooded her face. "Thank you." As we prepared to leave, she asked about my life, how I was coping. I told her about throwing myself into work, about the therapy that was helping me trust again, about the support of friends like Marcus. I did not tell her about Serena, the woman I had been seeing casually for the past month. Some parts of my life needed to remain private until trust could be rebuilt. The months that followed brought slow, cautious healing. My mother and I spoke weekly, our conversations gradually becoming less strained. She found a therapist of her own, sold the family home, and started building an independent life she had never imagined for herself. I admired her resilience, even as I maintained careful boundaries. Amanda gave birth to a boy. According to mutual friends, my father quickly showed signs of disinterest, spending more time at work than with his new family. The fantasy of their relationship crumbled under the weight of reality and public scrutiny. I felt nothing but pity for the child. As for me, my relationship with Serena deepened. She understood my trust issues, never pushed for more than I could give, and slowly helped me believe in connection again. The construction company thrived with several major contracts secured that would keep us busy for years. The most important lesson from this ordeal was painfully clear: blood does not guarantee loyalty. The people who stood by me when my world imploded were not all family, and the ones who drove the deepest knives were those I had trusted most completely. Now I measure relationships not by obligation or history, but by how people treat me when it matters most. Those are the ones who deserve a place in my life. Have you ever had to cut toxic family members out of your life, even temporarily? Share your story in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so others facing similar betrayals can find this story. Share it with someone who might need to hear that rebuilding after betrayal is possible. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the family we choose proves more loyal than the family we are born into.